coming to the platform or dedicating one's life to Srila Prabhupada's mission. And more specific, we're going to have a nice panel of devotees up here who are going to discuss and talk about what motivated them to dedicate their lives to Prabhupada, how that's continuing, and hopefully this is going to inspire all of us because, yes, Krishna consciousness means to be conscious of Krishna, right? But it actually is more deeper than that. You want to connect to Krishna? Can you go to him directly? I can't. But Srila Prabhupada has made it very easy for everyone in the world. He's finally brought us to that mission. So we want to deepen that understanding and that resolve and our focus. And in this way, you will experience more of the bliss of Krishna consciousness. Looking for Yadavar. So, we have on the stage today with us His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj Ki. He's been a devotee for many, many years in the early days of ISKCON with many services. I remember mostly when he was book distributor. And he would distribute books under the most difficult circumstances and even in the easy circumstances. And currently he's traveling throughout Asia, many countries, Israel, West Africa, and every year coming to Mayapur and helping us with the Kirtan, with his katha. So Maharaj, please, I appreciate your service very much, and let's give Maharaj a nice welcome to the stage here. We have His Grace Vivek Prabhu.
Ribo.
I didn't realize it's Dambasi. He's been here how many years now? 5 years. And he's also preaching continuously throughout India. And I visited his home the other day. His home is just like a temple. Nice place for programs. So if you get the opportunity, I'm sure you will come visit. You're welcome to come visit his home. Beautiful deities in Sharagram. And he's also joined the movement back 71, I believe, 72. Yeah, with Dina Bandhu. He's coming from that time. Connection there. And then our other Dambasi, but generally he has to go out to European countries preaching, but he comes every year to Mayapur. And Maharaj, I hate to say this, but Bhakti Rasayana Maharaj. So please give him a big welcome. And Yadavar's around here somewhere, but he'll be coming up shortly. Because after this katha, we're going to have the film that Yadavar created that was shown worldwide about Srila Prabhupada. So we'll begin this talk. It's kind of an informal talk. I'm going to get some more microphones so that they can interject as needed. But Maharaj, we're going to begin with you. If you can maybe explain a little bit about how you became a devotee and how this service Srila Prabhupada was so important to you. Pretty broad, but...
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksu Amilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani Nirvisesha Sunnivari Paschatya Desatari. I don't know if I can say I've become a devotee. I joined the ISKCON society by the mercy of devotees and by Srila Prabhupada books. Because I remember once Hridayananda Goswami wrote a nice poem for Srila Prabhupada, and he signed it, "Your devotee." And Prabhupada replied that this is a very nice poem, but one thing, you shouldn't say you're a devotee. You should say, I want to be a devotee. But it's by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, everything. You know, I was one day trying to think of what to thank Prabhupada for. And I could just say everything. basically, because of course we had to thank Krishna for air and water and everything. But Prabhupada had made everything available, useful for us by his sacrifice that everybody heard about many times. Dedicating his life, traveling with great austerity to go to America, just to get there, so much struggle. And then the ride on the boat was very difficult, with seasickness in the beginning and then 2 heart attacks. And he was all alone. Nobody was coming to check up on him in the room or anything. It wasn't a luxury liner, it was a cargo ship, small one. They ride very rough, but the ocean stayed much calmer than normal because Srila Prabhupada was there. I first, heard the Maha Mantra. I had no idea where it was coming from, here and there, and I went to one rock festival, and there were a few devotees there chanting very enthusiastically, but I didn't really pay that much attention to them. But I heard about Hare Krishna there, Hare Krishna incense. I was always looking for Hare Krishna incense, but there was no such thing. It was spiritual sky. So I got another one from India named Krishna. But that way I started chanting. And then I thought I had to find a guru, so I left Minnesota, traveled to California. And along the way, the George Harrison's song, My Sweet Lord, came on the radio. And we started chanting because we heard the mantra anyway. And heard a few other, I heard George's album, and there was one song, Chant the names of the Lord and you'll be free. The Lord is waiting on you all, just wait and see. You don't need anything, you don't need a passport, don't need a visa. All you need is to chant the names of the Lord. So I was thinking I'll do it, but I don't know what the names of the Lord are. I actually started praying maybe the first time in my life, and I didn't connect it with the My Sweet Lord song. But then, a couple of weeks later, I saw one devotee chanting out in the street very intensely. His name was Narada Muni. It was interesting. And I thought, that's it. Now I know what I've been looking at. I never knew what I was looking for. And that was it. And somehow I met, the devotees had just moved there. They just had their first Sunday feast, so I went. And I was late, so I was all alone. They gave me a lot of prasadam. Temple president said, you're stupid, you're wasting your life. If you don't join right now, the movement's going to go on anyway, and if you don't join, you're going to miss out on all this nectar, and the temples are getting too full if you don't join now. And, just leave your family, give it up, you stupid fool. You're wasting your life. And so I was thinking, yeah, this guy. But I kept coming back. Anyway, ever since I was somehow not able to leave the Association of Devotees in the society. Prabhupada is very, very kind. But ultimately, we connect with Prabhupada. Like I heard Prabhupada saying he met his guru like 4 times. But he had some intimate time when his guru told him to distribute books. I never really met Prabhupada. I just was able to attend many classes because I lived in LA and he lived there also in the winter. And a few morning walks here and there. And that it didn't take much because we had Prabhupada's books. We didn't have any other books. We had a special blessing. We only had Prabhupada's books, and if we were looking for a new book, we'd just wait another month or 2 and a new volume would come out. So we didn't have to go, we didn't know there were any other books about Krishna, and we didn't know anything. So that was special mercy. We only had Prabhupada. It was some time before, the tapes started coming out and all that, in profusion. Now, everyone else has so much access to Prabhupada. We never knew where he was. We'd get a newsletter sometimes once a month, but he would already moved on, and there wasn't that many letters coming, and everything. There was no internet, no Zoom, no even fax. Long distance calls, Prabhupada didn't like them at all. They're too expensive, so we didn't use those very much. But we had Prabhupada's books, and we had his mission. So this thing is supposed to be about like giving your life to Prabhupada's mission. What is his mission? He made it very clear. He wanted everyone in the world to be Krishna conscious. Even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, one purport, he says everyone in the universe. And he says that was maybe he wrote that in 75 or 76 or something. And he actually comments that, you will question, how can this reach out to the universe? And he said that the same way that in 10 years it's spreading all over the world here, that's a big mystery. How he told us many times that the historians would wonder, they would question, how did the Hare Krishnas take over the world? Because without firing a shot, there was no revolution, there was nothing like that. This is what we'll know from history. Ramaswar Prabhu, he would, with Prabhupada in 77, and he was curious about those statements. And he was asking, how's it going to happen? Will there be a revolution? Will there be an election? Or will there be this or that? How's it going to happen? Prabhupada said, no, none of that. But just by the Sankirtan, that by the spreading of the holy name and the transcendental literature, more and more people knowing about Krishna in so many ways, the atmosphere of the planet is going to change. So after some time, it won't be instant, but it is changing now. Anybody wants to see what's happening. The demons are freaking out, so they're starting more wars and finding more and more ways to spread their hellish, sinful activities. At the same time, more and more people are giving up sinful activities. More and more people are chanting the holy name. More and more people are reading Bhagavad Gita. The books are going out everywhere by many millions. We have a long way to go, but that's Prabhupada's mission. Then when the atmosphere of the planet is lifted up enough, people will demand, better governments, more Krishna consciousness, education for everybody. So Prabhupada, I like I said, I was attracted by devotees. When I first met devotees, even taking prasadam, every couple of minutes, Prabhupada! It was just Prabhupada. Prabhupada did like this, Prabhupada taught like this, Prabhupada did this. So he knew he must be something special, even though we didn't have very many books. The temple had only Nectar Devotion and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. I think one chapter of the Bhagavatam, in the paperback book. Maybe the one chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I can't remember. One devotee had one volume of the original Bhagavatam. So we were lucky because we had Chaitanya Nectar Devotion class every day. We had Bhagavatam class every day. But devotees were, they had nothing else to do. They had no other ideas. Everybody was young, so it was very dynamic that we're going to take over the world. This was a common phrase in the early days. Sometimes we think we don't hear that very much anymore. We even hear devotees thinking, we have to let the world, we have to change so that we don't look weird, we don't look different. But we are different. Spreading Krishna consciousness is not mainstream, what the media or anybody else wants. It's completely revolutionary. It's a revolutionary start in the hearts of the, what is it? It says in the Bhagavatam, the dull brains of the conditioned souls. Injecting Prabhupada was, injecting, and he wanted everybody. And he inspired, and just, we even see now so many people very inspired. Sarvadrik Prabhu will probably talk. He meets all these young students, and they're so inspired by Prabhupada. Even though they only heard a tape or they read some literature. But that's all it takes. Because it's not like he's not here. He's much more present, We heard over and over again, and the books are better than I am. And, when somebody would be going off to be with Prabhupada when he was crossing America or something, service and separation is better. So everyone has got that opportunity now. But not only that, but access to Prabhupada's lectures are there for everybody online. You can get one stick with everything, unlimited hours and hours. You can download everything, you can listen online, and there's so many books now, devotees who were intimately traveling with Srila Prabhupada. And we can learn so much from those. So we have to not only just learn a little philosophy, but know the person, this person, that actually lived with us, somebody from the spiritual world that actually lived with us. Prabhupada everything he did was fascinating. Every time he spoke, I remember the first time I saw him drink water, right? And he took that cup and everybody was shocked. Devotees try to do that, but they're usually not very successful so far. Even eating, I never saw, but he just threw the food and he went right in his mouth and never missed. Just every little thing like that. How he was, the Super Soul was just using him perfectly. Like two very strong proofs. In New York, he told him, don't give any money to this real estate guy until you have the deed, until you have everything signed. And the guy was telling devotees, like real estate people do, that's the Indian way, but America's different. And His Majesty doesn't understand in America. And somehow they fell for it, and they gave the money. And then that was it. The money was gone. So when Prabhupada heard about it, and the lawyer said, it's impossible, you'll never get your money back. It can't be done. Prabhupada personally guided the lawyer. Now, we know it, we don't have any evidence that he ever studied American law, right? But he knew, because Krishna just guided him. So he got the money back. Same thing in Juhu. He kept telling devotees, don't sign it off. And the lawyer and everybody else was telling the devotees, it's useless, you can't possibly win, and even if you do, nobody will come to a temple in Juhu. It's too far away. And everybody believed it. Only Prabhupada, understood. Now 10,000 come every day. How many? 30,000. On the week, I say every day is 10,000. I heard 1 lakh on Sunday. Anyway, it's big numbers. It's just growing. You can't keep up. But Prabhupada knew all this. Even before he went to America, he saw that land, which was just a jungle. But then the same thing there. And they signed it off. And like it's all finished. But Prabhupada immediately said, no, wait a minute. No they haven't given the money back yet, so that's not valid. And he guided the lawyer on that case also. Step by step, and he got it back. And he won the case, and now we have the Radha Viseswari temple, which, is a spectacular thing. And I don't know how many devotees can understand how important that temple is and was for the worldwide preaching of ISKCON. Because, devotees were preaching to Indian people in the West, And they didn't really believe, that for real, all these young Americans. But everybody has friends and contacts in Bombay. So when that temple opened, they understood ISKCON is really something. It's for real. And Prabhupada, he knew that. And then Krishna Balaram temple opened before that, and Vrindavan, but even Vrindavan wasn't such a busy place, and what to speak of Mayapur. But Bombay is like the center of all Indian commerce. So Prabhupada, he got that wonderful temple built, and now we got, nobody can count how many people come every day. So many books go out every day just in the temple, hundreds and hundreds of books every day. And prasadam, unlimitedly, lines like hundreds of meters long. So the Prabhupada, he was a visionary. So naturally we were inspired. He had unlimited confidence. He had no doubt about anything he was saying. And so naturally you just want to follow. It was like you hang on, you stick with Prabhupada, you're going to go back to Godhead. That's still available for everybody. We made it like a real discount. Chant 16 rounds only, follow regulated principles. I heard yesterday there was an early talk, so he was talking about chanting and how important chanting is. And he said, of course, there are rules and regulations. But then he said, if you're just beginning, you don't have to worry about rules and regulations. Sometimes now we stress the rules and regulations more than we stress chanting. But Prabhupada stressed the chanting because then the rules and regulations automatically follow it. If we chant like, in ecstasy or, just chant attentively. So he gave us everything. He gave us, what's the goal. He gave us how to achieve the goal, why that should be our goal, to get out from the material world. The goal is to become a servant of Krishna. That was a new concept, and Prabhupada himself, there are many talks, especially from the early days, before his Bhagavad Gita was published, and every so-called version of the Bhagavad Gita in English, and probably Hindi also, the commentator didn't follow Bhagavad Gita. He just didn't believe in Krishna. Everything is something else. And Prabhupada, he said what Krishna said: surrender to me, me, and worship Krishna, think of Krishna. And he gave us the Krishna book right off, 10th canto, so we could think of Krishna. He organized the artists. No one ever put pictures of Krishna in the books before. He put in the first Krishna book, he waited. Every artist, anybody he met that was an artist, he wrote out some little pastime and said, paint this. And can you do this? And he assigned Jadharani right away to make big paintings to send to all the temples, to decorate the temples. He wanted us to know Krishna, the person, and Krishna's pastimes. So that first volume of the Krishna book, it was a special design by Prabhupada, 8 by 12 inch book, very big, like a so-called coffee table book or something. It had 64 paintings, one for every chapter. And then the second volume, it had 36 paintings. Now we have the whole Bhagavatam practically with that many paintings. Supposedly for budget. But Prabhupada wanted these paintings, he wanted everyone to see Krishna. I remember telling people, I didn't know anything about the book. I just said, my guru says these pictures are windows to the spiritual world. And people would buy it. Just look at a few pictures, is how much is it? So, time up.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Huh?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you very much.
Yeah, we had a few people listening.
Yeah, we would like to have maybe a little more conversation if we can. So if you turn your mics on, we need one more mic for Prabhupada.
Yeah, that was 20 minutes.
And you were mentioning about the book. I would just like to mention how, like for all of us, Maharaj is very fortunate to hear the Maha Mantra. I got a book myself and read it, and it inspired me to understand Krishna's God. And I wanted to be with the people who were following this. And then once moving in there, and you just saw how they were all dedicated to, we have to fulfill Prabhupada's mission. And immediately that's the first thing that we kind of caught. I think all of us talked about that. And that is kind of like a life that's kind of been carrying me on there. So we have here Yadubar Prabhu, who's just come up on stage. He's been in the back over here getting things ready for the film. He needs no introduction. And he, of course, he didn't know he was going to be a Hare Krishna devotee, but somehow or another, Prabhupada, he was sent to help Prabhupada with this, using his talent in film production.
Thank you. Sikabhiti Prabhu.
You don't have to interject.
Vishnu Gadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Vardhamani Pujamani. Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Bhaskata Desadamani. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I didn't I wasn't looking for religion when I came across the devotees. I had an assignment for a magazine to do a photo essay.
So you're making money.
I was making money. And I kind of walked into, I make a joke, that was my first professional assignment and my last. Because once I met the devotees, actually I met Prabhupada through his potency. I met the devotees first, I saw the temple, I covered all the activities in that first article. So as I said, I wasn't looking for religion, but when I first went to the temple, I was very, very attracted to everything actually. My wife, Vishaka Devi, then Jean, she wrote the article and she had the opposite reaction. She was an atheist. So we had an interesting combination right off the bat.
You all know who is Vishaka, right? Say Haribol.
Anyway, long story, but Prabhupada knew how to preach to everyone, including her. He eventually sent us, we both came to India in the summer of December 1970. I was doing a master thesis in photography, and I chose the Hare Krishna movement as my subject in India. So I really wanted to meet Prabhupada. So the first night I met him, I had that article and I showed it to him. And he said, I asked him if I could stay and travel with the party. And he said, are you going to become a devotee? And I said, I don't think so, probably. So then he said, then you cannot stay. So I didn't know what to do. They put me up that night where everyone else was staying. I got up in the morning, nobody said anything, Prabhupada didn't say anything, and I stayed for 2 months. So that was proof to me right away that Prabhupada knew our hearts and minds. And nobody else really, I could not really perceive that with anyone else. So there's many reasons that we stayed for so long. We're still here through ups and downs, many ups and downs. It's not an easy path. Prabhupada said many times, it's like a razor's edge. Because we are surrounded by the material energy. Sometimes we're strong, sometimes we're not so strong. But the main thing is to keep in the boat. Don't jump off the boat, even though there may be difficulty. That's my experience. We just stay with it. Another reason is there's nothing better out there. You know, we've seen what's out there. We've experienced it to a certain degree. We've heard different philosophies. Nothing matches Krishna consciousness. It's so deep. It's endlessly deep. So we can spend many lifetimes, of course, studying the philosophy and becoming Krishna conscious. That's what it may take, many lifetimes. But we're prepared for that, many, many lifetimes. So Yeah.
I would say also, if you think about it, everyone, whether you're a devotee or not, you have to have a purpose in life. People who don't have purposes in life generally just commit suicide. They have no reason to get up in the morning. And Prabhupada's books are written in such a way that not only do we want to be Krishna conscious because it's the best platform to be on, but you can see very clearly that he's actually going to change the world. I want to be a part of that. So, okay, let's do what Prabhupada says. What do we have to do, right?
Yeah. And also, we have a worldwide family. That's very attractive to me. Everywhere we go, we'll see devotees. We can connect. That's really amazing. We have a worldwide family.
Savadrit, tell us your experience, please. Take that one.
Hare Krishna. Namo Om Vishnupada. Krishna Krishna Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Rasayana Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pucharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakara. He Guru Gyanagadi Nabandho Sanandada Tatpuranayati Sindhu. Vrindavana Sina Hitavachara. Prasida Radha Panayat Pucharine. Nama Shashtamurti Sachi Putramatra Surupam Rupam Tasyagajamiri Parivatari Vaishnavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Rajikamanavasam Praptavyasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Guru Tamapasmi Vandinanta Putashaya Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nichopi Yat Prasadatsa Bhakti Shastra Pravatara Nityanandamaham Nami Sarvananda Karantaram Parinama Padam Avadhuti Shivanam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasad Gaura Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Vancha Kopati Krishna Kripa Sindhu Vijam Patitanam Paviniyo Vishnu Guru. So I'd like to comment first on something that Mara said, that I'm very happy to have the opportunity. You can hear? Okay. Okay. Mara is just giving me good instruction. So I have good fortune of spending time with extraordinary college students. We have ashrams in most of the IIT colleges here in India. IIT is the most respected institution in the whole country. Indian Institute of Technology. We're in Roorkee, Jharkhand, not Jharkhand, in Roorkee, Jodhpur, Kharagpur, and Kanpur. And they're full of devotees that have taken to the instructions of Prabhupada. They get up early in the morning, they have Mangalarati. They live in a base called base group, BACE, Bhakti Vedanta Art, Culture, and Education, base group. So in these base groups, there's maybe 30 or 35, up to 40 devotees living together. They get up early in the morning, all college students, finishing their PhD, BTech, MTech, and DBA, finishing their education. They get up early in the morning, they do japa, and they have a delayed Mangalarati because they're in residential areas and neighbors don't appreciate hammering mridangans and clanging kartals. So they have Mangalarati around 6 o'clock, they'll sing Gurvashtakam. So when they start to sing Jai Prabhupada, they jump and they practically touch the ceiling. So looking at this scene, I think, who are these people? Where do they get such enthusiasm? They never saw Prabhupada. They never met him. They've heard his voice, they read his books. That's also meeting Prabhupada. But where does such enthusiasm come from? Srila Prabhupada mentioned that many of his students would have to take birth in India to finish their devotional life. So these young men and women are extraordinary devotees. They're deeply intelligent. The institution in Roorkee, which is one of the first IITs in India, They get 1.2 million applications every year. They accept 2,000 students. There's 2 exams you have to crack before you even are considered as a student. So who is it that is going there? The intellectual cream of the whole country. And they're becoming our devotees. And when they hear about Prabhupada, they're so thirsty to hear about Prabhupada. They're so thirsty to chant his name. Because Prabhupada said, many of my disciples will have to take birth in India again. And many of these people, I think, they must have been my god brothers and god sisters in their last life. So affectionate, so appreciative of devotees, appreciative of Prabhupada disciples. So this is brought to mind, Maharaj was saying. So people ask me, Sarva, what was your personal association with Srila Prabhupada? This is the story. Maharaj can understand, he spent time in Los Angeles. So we joined in Portland, I joined in Portland when Dinabandhu Prabhu was the temple president. I didn't know anything. Some friends said, come to the temple, Hare Krishna temple. Hare what? Hare Krishna. And what's Hare Krishna? Oh, they're like yogis. They're yogi shmogi, who cares? No, they have this delicious, free vegetarian feast every Sunday. Okay, now you have my attention, let's go. When are we leaving? So I went to the feast, we got there, and I looked at the door, and the door was surrounded by stacks of shoes. So I thought, what is this? Some barefoot hippies inside? What are they doing? I'm not into this, it's too weird. So I sat in the car. After some time I became bored, I thought, let me go inside. I opened the door and the first thing I saw was Dinabandhu Prabhu. Very good looking devotee, beautiful white tilak, freshly shaven head, and they're doing Agnihotra. They're doing fire sacrifice in the living room. Now in America, we don't build fires in living rooms. So this is an extraordinary experience in itself. And everybody's offering their businesses to Gaurnitai. I said, okay, I can bow down. I bowed down to Gaurnitai. Then they put this Havan Samagri, barley, ghee, and sesame in my hand. I'm looking at it. Is this the feast?
No.
I'm supposed to eat this? I drove all the way across town to eat this? This is vegetarian food? But I look around and, well, no one else is eating it. I said, no, you have to put it in the fire and say swaha. So I put the grains in the fire and said swaha. Then we took the feast. I was very, very embarrassed to even eat in front of these angelic, effulgent devotees. I was like a street dog that wandered into Prabhupada's temple, and they patted me on the head and fed me something. So somehow or other I took prasadam. Afterwards we did Tulsi Puja, Tulsi Arati, Yani Kani Chapapani, Brahmahaptadikani Cha. I watered Tulsi baby. So that evening I watered Tulsi, I offered grains to the sacred fire. I took prasadam and I offered my obeisances to Gaurnitai, and my life was never the same. 2 weeks later I dropped out of college, horrified my father. He was orthopedic surgeon and lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. And he was very unhappy. What are you going, you're going to become a ditch digger. What is this Hare Krishna stuff? And he's chanting, Hare Krishna is not the way to go. Why are you joining Hare Krishna? He's chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But I got everything in ISKCON. Joining ISKCON was the best decision of my entire life. Best decision, bar none. So we decided to see Srila Prabhupada. He was in Los Angeles. And the whole west coast of North America converged on Los Angeles, California. 1974. Seattle, Washington, Vancouver, BC, Portland, San Francisco, Laguna Beach, San Diego, all came to see Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles. It's a 2-day drive from Portland, Oregon. We drove one day, Portland to San Francisco, next day San Francisco to Los Angeles. We arrived worn out, tired, and dirty, but we wanted to be strict brahmacharis, take baths, change clothes, and go to Sandhya Aratis. Now this Los Angeles temple was known as New Dwarka, very, very opulent temple. Our temple in Portland was very, very poor. We had no even kurta. We had just a t-shirt, gunji, and polyester cloth. and all the brahmacharis shared one tube of toothpaste. No one even had their own tube of toothpaste. And we took baths with a tube, with a hose, in a tub. That was our temple. No one even had their own clothes. Everyone put in a common laundry. And if you got a dhoti, you got a dhoti. If you didn't, you didn't. Very poor temple. So here we are in New Dwarka. And all the brahmacharis have their own toothpaste. They've got real dhotis from India. And this is an opulent, opulent place. So I walk in the side door of the temple. I followed my godbrother Shrishna to the side door of the temple. Up the stairs. We figured that's where the bathrooms are. So there's 3 doors. I opened the middle door, and Srila Prabhupada was in there taking a shower. So I'll just use the bathroom next door. But it wasn't a bathroom. Next door to that room is Srila Prabhupada's room. And I opened the door, and Srila Prabhupada was standing there chanting chakra. He says, "Yes." I said, "Hare Krishna." I was very shocked to see Srila Prabhupada standing there, the first time I met my Guru Maharaj. And being very shocked and thinking I'm barging into his room unannounced, disturbing him, I simply closed the door. And I thought, my God, I didn't even offer my obeisances to him. So outside the door were his shoes, so my good fortune was, if his shoes were available, to let my foolish neophyte head offer my obeisances out the door. So what is the meaning of this story? It's actually a profound story for all devotees that never had the opportunity for the personal association with Srila Prabhupada. He said one word to me, I said 2 words to him. That's the sum total of my personal association with Srila Prabhupada. So how am I sitting here today? What maintains me? What is it that maintains my spiritual life? Prabhupada said 2 things, Vani Seva, Vapu Seva. Vapu Seva is temporary because our own body is temporary. It's destined for destruction. This is the law of nature, no one can check it. Guru's body, Sishya's body, disciple's body. No one can check the onslaught of material nature, the onslaught of time. Kalosmi, Bharatar Shivam, Krishna says. But what maintains us, what is important, what is the essence of our relationship with our Guru, is to hear Vani Seva, to hear his instructions, to serve his institution, to follow his instructions. This is what maintains my life, and this is exactly the same thing that will maintain your life. Because what you have at your fingertips is the same thing I have. No different. The Vani I get from Prabhupada, the service I have the opportunity to render, is the same service and opportunity each of you has. No different. People go, "Oh, Prabhupada, disciple, you got so much mercy." That mercy is available to you equally. Much more, yes, good point. Prabhupada said the grand disciple, the grandson or granddaughter is more dear. He gets more mercy. Grandparents simply give love and affection. We got chastised because we were so nonsense, didn't know anything. Didn't know what is fire sacrifice, didn't know what is Tulsi, what is Gita, what is Murti, what is Kirtan, what is Bhajan, what is Mridanga. Nothing!
What is prasada? He thought sesame seed is
We
prasada.
figured out what prasada was, yes. So Prabhupada is available to each of you in this way. And this is the substance of our life, is hearing. Bhagavatam says, Yasyam vai shriyamananam Krishna paramakurite Bhakti Rasayana Pumsa Shoka Moha Bhayapa. Just by hearing, by having oral reception, allowing the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam especially to enter our ear. Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. Illusion, fear, and lamentation are destroyed, and Bhakti Upadite Pumsam. Bhakti rises up in our heart. Hearing is so important. Bhagavatam says, Pravishtakana Randrena Swamam Bhava Saroram Dunoti Chamalam Krishna Salila Siya Kashnara. And we see God with our ear, Karna Randrena. People want to see God with their eye. Impossible. We see God, we experience God through our ear by hearing, Karna Randrena. And what is the result? Dunoti Chamalam Krishna. All the malam, all inauspicious things. Our hearts are full of kama, krodha, lobha, moda, matsarya. Our heart is full of these things, and they're destroyed by the simple process of hearing. Stani siddha shrutikatam tanavan manoga. Stay where you are in life. Doesn't matter, your ashram is unimportant. Hearing is important. And who shall we hear from? should hear from Srila Prabhupada. Should hear from Srila Prabhupada. Not anyone and everyone. Here in Sampradaya. Sampradaya Vihinas and mantras saying Nishpalamata. There's no fruit. There's no fruit to hear from an unauthorized person coming outside of Guru Parampara. So Prabhupada's qualification, one of his main qualifications, was that he was a perfect sishya, perfect student, perfect disciple. Simply passed it. He said, I'm a postman. And our business is to follow in Prabhupada's footsteps, doing exactly the same thing without change. If a person wants to cut 20 pieces of wood, exactly the same size, and he takes number 1, and he measures number 2 and makes a cut. He takes number 2 and measures number 3 and makes a cut. Numbers 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 6 to 7. At the 20th piece will not be the same size as the first piece. Everything has to be to the standard of the first piece. The first piece measures the second, first piece measures the 20th. Then they'll all be the same size. This is the principle of Guru Parampara. To give the same transmission without changing it. If we change it, what is the future of our ISKCON society? In 3-4 generations. Change also is already coming. Devotees tweaking the rules. Prabhupada doesn't know what he means. It means this. There's no need of interpretation. If something's obvious, if something's clear, there's no need of interpretation. So if we change it, what will ISKCON be in 4 or 5 generations? Yes, what are the 2 regulating principles? Yes, Gurudev, I promise to be vegetarian and not gamble. And how many rounds do you chant? Gurudev, I promise to chant 4 rounds. Thank you very much. Your name is Krishna Das. It can happen. Don't change Prabhupada's instructions. Take it as it is. Prabhupada gave it to us as it is. Don't change his instruction. Because if we do, there is not a bright future for ISKCON. And if we follow his instructions, Guru Parampara, Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya, Chiteti Koriya Agya, Arna Koriya Manayasha. Accept the words emanating from his lotus mouth as our heart and soul without changing. Because those words, his books are his words. Prabhupada didn't write his books with pen and paper. He spoke his words as I'm speaking to you into a microphone. Prabhupada spoke his books into a microphone and they were transcribed in ink and paper. So when we open Prabhupada's book, you're as good as sitting in the room with Prabhupada and hearing the words coming directly from his lotus mouth. This is the responsibility of every ISKCON devotee, to familiarize themselves with the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and don't change it. As we heard it from him, we're trying to tell you, and you are the future of the society. Many of you will have disciples. Some of you will take sannyas. Some of you will travel all over the world preaching Krishna consciousness. And there's no meaning to it if you don't follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada without change. Hare Krishna.
Haribo, thank you so much for the... Yes, give him a hand. We're going to hear from the next generation, of course, of ISKCON, Bhakti Rasayana
Next generation keep
Sagara Swami. I got it now, excuse me. And again, if you can help us understand how it is you've dedicated your life to Prabhupada and why, so we can understand it. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. I'm feeling very humbled to sit in
Can you hear
such...
Maharaj okay?
Hare Krishna. Feeling very humbled to sit in such an august assembly of dedicated Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada direct disciples. But I suppose humility is good for my spiritual life, so that's why I took it up. And it's very interesting what has been told, but before I say anything else, I wanted to offer my respects to my spiritual master as well as all other spiritual masters, beginning with Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Samakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Yam Darati Svapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravan Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Dashatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Dai Mahatre Mahaprabhu Nirmaya Kshated Mushupurusha Vunte Gunam Sadas Sadhusatmakaya Vam Krishna Bhagavan Vacham Sime Hare Krishna. So, yeah, it's a very interesting question. How are we connected to Srila Prabhupada, even though physically Srila Prabhupada doesn't seem to be present, even though he is present physically. We can see Srila Prabhupada sitting right next to us. And some may say, but yeah, this is Srila Prabhupada's statue, that's not him. But if we understand the philosophy, if we accept the philosophical conclusion that Srila Prabhupada had his form made with flesh, and now he has another form, but physical form is not the person. Person is the soul. And if the soul is pure, then through the super soul, we can always have access to that soul. That's why Srila Prabhupada is always present. And, it's a serious subject matter, but I wanted to say a few instances from different parts of the world, how Srila Prabhupada is still, even physically present with us. The temple I was trying to develop also has life-size Prabhupada's murti. And one time there was a renovation in the temple, and a few workers were there, and they were painting the walls. And of course, because the paint has very strong smell, they kept the windows open, but it was late autumn, it was pretty chill outside. So they were dressed up because of that. And they kept looking at Srila Prabhupada. And when one devotee entered, they expressed their appreciation. They said, this old Indian man seems like a real yogi. He's not, he's dressed so lightly, and he's not even bothered, doesn't seem to be bothered by the cold. Maybe, and he's not even complaining about the work and everything. Amazing personality. Maybe you could give him something warm to dress, to wear. So what is we're thinking, even outside people, they appreciate Srila Prabhupada being present with us, what to speak of devotees. Another instance, it was Africa, and I'm sure a few of you had experience, at least Kavichandra Maharaj, I know he has good experience of African preaching. And in many countries, the criminal activity is very high. So there was one instance in one of our temples, there was an armed robbery. So the robbers came into the temple with machine guns, and they told everyone, you have to lie on the floor with your face down. We're going to have robbery here. If anyone will move, we're going to shoot. So devotees, decided not to argue with them, so they just lay down on the floor with their face down. And of course, the only person who didn't lay down on the floor was Srila Prabhupada. And they were very annoyed with that. And one of them shouted, "Hey you, old man, Haven't you heard us? You should lay down on the floor with the face down, otherwise we're going to shoot. And Srila Prabhupada didn't move. And they were perturbed. They said, this old man, he's not afraid of us at all. Maybe he knows some magic. Maybe he could, he will put some spell on us. So better we retreat from here. Better we should run away from here. And so they just escaped. So Srila Prabhupada saved devotees from the robbery, from the armed robbery. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So there are few cases like that which show that Srila Prabhupada is still present with us and still taking care of the devotees in many ways. And of course Srila Prabhupada is as present as he was before the 77 with us through his instructions, as Sarvadrik Prabhu mentioned. And it's interesting that the instructions of Srila Prabhupada sometimes come right at the right time. There was another instance, one man decided to hijack a car, and it was devotee's car. And so he opened the car, started the engine, and went away. And on the way, this was in early years when there was still these cassette players, and he was thinking maybe there is some music there just for entertainment purposes, let me press the button. So he pressed the button, but it was Prabhupada's lecture in there, and it was in the middle of the lecture. And right there Prabhupada was saying, if you live in the material world means you are a thief. And the thief might think that, he can escape. Maybe you can escape, human justice, but you will never escape the justice of the Supreme Lord. If you've done something criminal, you will suffer, that is guaranteed. You cannot escape from the Supreme Lord. You cannot escape from Krishna. And this guy, he was sitting there and he was thinking, oh my God, these are God-believing people, so I stole their car. Better I bring it back. Otherwise, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to, be under God's punishment. And so he brought the car back and he apologized to the devotees. He said, I had no idea whose car it was, so please have it back. So these instances seem to be funny, but I'm sure that the devotees were not experiencing them as funny when they were going through them. But this is how material world is working. It says that one person's tragedy, another, person's comedy. I suppose this is why Krishna is smiling so much, because this whole material world is one big comedy. And Srila Prabhupada is present in all our lives, and definitely I had experience of Srila Prabhupada's presence more than once in my few years of practicing Krishna consciousness. I don't know how our time is. If it's short, I could share them later at the opportunity. But
well, I could bring up something that I have heard. Maybe you can elaborate on a past time as someone who got Prabhupada's books. I think he was in Russia, and his second party came across him, and he was selling Prabhupada's books. He never met devotees. You know that past time?
I haven't heard this specific
anyway,
past
an example of what it means to catch Prabhupada's mercy. He read Prabhupada's books, and in the book, of course, all of us reading every one of Prabhupada's books, it makes you understand you have to spread this message. So he took it up. And a traveling Sankirtan party came across him, and he says, he didn't realize there were other people. He just had the one book. So Srila Prabhupada ki.
Right.
What I wanted to do is kind of a little spontaneous feeling that happened here, but we're hearing all from these illustrious devotees. I thought we should hear from one of our prominent Vaishnavis also. We're fortunate to have a Bhakti Vedanta certified devotee, just a handful who've gone that far into our studies. She's waiting for the next degree to come, and then she's ready to do that. We have Prabhupada Priya Devi Dasi. Please come up and let us hear a little bit how Prabhupada inspired you. And while she's coming up, I tell another quick story. Jaya Sri Devi Dasi, you may not know of her, she's a New Vrindavan. Prabhupada went to Hawaii. She got a book on the street and read it, and somehow or another she knew the address where the devotees were staying. So she goes to the address and knocks on the door. There's nobody there. Prabhupada opens the door. Yes? I have some questions. Come on in. The first devotee she meets is Srila Prabhupada, and he preaches to her.
Haribo.
And she becomes a devotee. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Well, Prabhu introduced me as a Bhakti Vedanta certified. So Srila Prabhupada told us that if you really want to know me, then read my books. And the more we read Srila Prabhupada's books, the more we are able to actually experience his presence in his books and understand his heart. Srila Prabhupada expressed his mission, his vision, the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the disciplic succession that he represents, as well as his personal qualities, his humility, his gratitude, his compassion, his innermost feelings for his spiritual master, for Krishna, and for all of us in his purports. And the more we take the time to connect with those books, the more we can actually connect with Srila Prabhupada. This program is called Prabhupada Connect. So the secret to connecting with Prabhupada is his books. He said that his purports are his ecstasies. His ecstasies. So if maybe you've had the experience of associating with a devotee when they're in a very ecstatic mood. It's not like normal association. You know, sometimes you'll be with a senior devotee, but you'll just be talking about, you know, the weather, or what's the program today, or how's your health. It's a kind of association, but it's not, you're not experiencing their ecstasy. So, but if you have had the good fortune to be with a devotee, a senior devotee, when they're in that state of ecstatic Krishna consciousness, where they're really, you know, emanating the spiritual potency of pure Krishna consciousness, then it just bowls you over. It gives you so much faith. It makes you want to surrender your life to the service of Krishna. So each one of Srila Prabhupada's purports is a manifestation of his ecstasy. It's written in those rare moments of solitude, when he was sitting alone in the middle of the night and just pouring out his ecstatic realizations. So out of all the association that we can get with Srila Prabhupada, the most intimate, the most spiritually deep association is available in the Bhaktivedanta purports, which are there for practically every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so many other books that Prabhupada wrote. Actually, this morning I was reading a book. It's a book of Srila Prabhupada's poetry. It's called The Shower of Divine Compassion. And if you haven't read that, please try to get your hands on it and read it.
It's in the bookstore. Wonderful book.
Okay, good. Yeah, and
Namhata bookstore.
so there, it's all the books, it's all the poems that Prabhupada wrote. Some of them are very well known. like Martini Bhagavat Dharma and Krishna Tava Punya Habibai, the poems that he wrote on the Jaladuta. And there's also Vrindavan Bhajan. And then there are also some long poems that he wrote as offerings for his spiritual master. We know of Adore, Adore Ye This Fine Day, but there are two more that he wrote in Bengali. And it's interesting, Prabhupada wrote the Bengali verses in the same meter as Chaitanya Charitamrita, so you can read them in that meter. And those poems are so deep. And I was particularly moved by the second one of those poems in the book. It's called Vaishishthya Ashtaka. Yeah, Vaishishthya Ashtaka, in which he's expressing his despondency on the departure of his spiritual master. He feels like his spiritual master's movement was just plunged into disarray. And primarily due to his godbrothers not following the order of Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. And so in that poem he's pleading with his godbrothers, because he knows his godbrothers are going to read the poem, because it was an offering for the Guru. It was published in Spiritual Masters magazine, The Harmonist later. He's pleading with his godbrothers to come together, to sit together, and to unite, because they were so fragmented. He was very feelingly, he was imploring his godbrothers, let us just sit together. Let us strategize how to spread this movement. Let's stop just thinking about our own material comforts and what we have to gain from taking advantage of the wealth that our spiritual master has left us for our sense gratification, for our name and fame. Let's use the resources that he's left to us for spreading his movement. So it was with so much feeling, so much heart, and it was very moving. It moved me deeply. And I felt like that was a message for us too, that now that Srila Prabhupada, after his physical departure, he's left us with so much. Of course, especially Prabhupada's direct disciples, they all played such a huge part in establishing it, in creating that for the rest of us, for our second generation, third generation, future generations of devotees who will come. When I walk into the temple here in Mayapur, I think I'm so indebted, because I did nothing practically to build this temple. Well, I distributed some books, and maybe the money from my book distribution went to building Mayapur. But as far as, it was just handed to us on a silver platter by the grace of the blood, sweat, and tears of so many of Prabhupada's direct disciples that worked to build our movement in the early days when there was nothing. So, all of us who are coming now, instead of just taking advantage of these resources for our own comfort, getting prasadam and enjoying the Kirtan and the katha and the party atmosphere of Mayapur festival, the social life that's available here. Let's really try to sit down together and talk about how we're going to use these resources, build on these resources to spread Srila Prabhupada's movement further and wider all over the world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Praise Prabhupada. Priya Devasi ki. So we'll just have some informal conversation leading up to the other bar, who's going to describe about the movie that he produced that went worldwide. And I thought I'd just mention another pastime experience I had about with Srila Prabhupada, in the sense of the effect Srila Prabhupada had on everyone. After joining the movement and being in the temple for maybe about 5 months, Srila Prabhupada was finally coming to Chicago. Of course, that Chicago temple had cult and mood of Prabhupada, which has the whole movement of wanting to spread Krishna consciousness in the way Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do, which was distributing these books, because that is the most effective means for giving the message to people. Brihat Madanga. But especially in America, in Chicago, people are very antagonistic because, you know, we don't look very much American, the American way. Counterculture. Chicago's conservative, they don't want counterculture. It's not San Francisco. So to sell books is a challenge, to say the least. Many times, Maharaj can attest to this. I've seen Maharaj get arrested in the airport, taken to jail. So many devotees, when I went to apply for jobs, they go, how many times have you been arrested? You three just say also, so the attack is going on. Harinam parties, Chicago, they take us straight to jail, even though it's legal. Of course, later on, we resolved that with a lawsuit, which forced them to quit arresting us. And anyway, Prabhupada's coming to the airport. I'm a 19-year-old boy, and I'm thinking, why are we going to go to the airport with Kirtan? We're going to arrest Prabhupada. I think they're just waiting for him to come. And we go into the airport with this big Kirtan, and you see all the people are looking at us with disgust. How dare you people come in here like this, with this noise? The policemen are all standing with their arms folded, upset. The media is there, of course, because this is a big media event. ISKCON will sell a lot of newspapers. They're always front line, front hit page, all the time. And in those days, you could go directly to the terminal when the plane lands. So we're there with Kirtan, 40, 50 devotees, big umbrella, chamras, flower petals waiting. And Prabhupada's plane arrives, and the door opens, and in those days, of course, they would allow him to come out first. He was well known. And I just remember seeing the reactions from all the people when they see Prabhupada come out that door. You know, imagine yourselves coming and there's 50 devotees having kirtan for you. And what do? You have to smile, or maybe you show, oh no, I'm a little transcendental to all these things. But Srila Prabhupada didn't do any of those things. You can't imitate a pure devotee. He's a pure devotee.
There were two gentlemen. One devotee described the same scene. Mm-hmm. They're just getting up off the floor from offering obeisances. He looks over his shoulder, and there's two well-dressed gentlemen, three-piece suit, patent leather shoes, silk tie, well-done hair, briefcase, and they're both crying. Tears are streaming down their face.
See Prabhupada the first time.
Just seeing him.
So I see like this, he comes and you're stunned because he doesn't have the same reaction everyone has. And you're just looking at him as he walks by, and you can just feel that all these emotions are there. He's serious, he loves you, and you just want to do some service. And what I noticed most of all is when as he's coming around, he's turning to go down the corridor, and the devotees have the chamras going, and the big umbrellas over his head, and the flower petals as he's walking. And on both sides of Prabhupada, there's two policemen walking. They're like this. Stand back, move back. Immediately they start serving. The same ones that, standing there all with disgust, upset that we're in the airport. And the Karmis, you would think they would be cheering, who do you think you are? They're just stunned. You don't see emotions like that. You could tell he's not an ordinary person. And so the effects Prabhupada had. But what I remember, at least those two policemen that were there, they didn't bother us in the airport anymore. But I think the others were still harassing Maharaj and some of the other Sankirtan devotees there. So
there was a janitor there also. When he saw Prabhupada, he said, "That man's a glower! That man's a glower! That man is glowing. That man's a glower! That man's a glower!"
This is the potency of the Shakti Avesha Avatar. So we're very fortunate. So in the same way, we catch this mood and we can go on and spreading this Krishna conscious movement and keeping Prabhupada in the forefront. Anything else anyone would like to add? Or do you want to begin talking about your day? I think they got about another.
Just to follow up on the.
Would you still Prabhupada quite often?
Follow up on the idea of seeing Prabhupada. Of course, we can see Prabhupada through his movies. And I spent the last 3 months in Govardhan Eagle Village, showing the film to yoga groups, spiritual seekers, with incredible results. Most of them would have tears in their eyes at the end of the film and through the film. So we're going to watch the film very shortly. I don't know if you've all seen it. I'm sure that most of you have seen it. But they say the second, third, fourth time, it just gets better. I think it's like the books. Prabhupada himself said that I'm non-different from my pictures. Just like he's non-different from the deity. So we encourage all of you to stay for the film. Also we have pen drives available with all our movies from 1974 on. There's over 80 hours of video, over 50 videos. And the Hare Krishna movies there also. To share that movie with others and have programs, invite people to your home. In India, it's on something called Tubi.com, T-U-B-I. Tubi.com. That's the only streaming service. We tried to get it on Amazon, but they didn't take it. They're more interested in other kinds of movies, as we know.
Do you have phone drives with you now?
Yeah. So, we've seen just incredible results. Of course, I'm the director pushing my own movie, but I can say that it's really not mine. It's out there for everyone. And as far as our team, we had actually 5 core team members making the film. My wife and 3 young devotees, 2 from Australia and 1 from Los Angeles. It really contributed a huge amount. Also in the credits, there's over 300 companies and individuals who contributed to the making of the film. Also, if we think we're the doer at this stage in our Krishna consciousness, we have a problem. We're not the doer. Actually, in both our films on Prabhupada's life, the last thing he says is on his bed in Vrindavan. Does anyone remember those sentences? There's 2 sentences. Very profound. Yes, everything is acting, moving by the supreme desire of Krishna. This consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Okay, yeah. So that's a very profound statement. Krishna's doing everything according to our desire. We have our desires, he has his desires. The good and the bad. The bad is lessons for us. Many times profound lessons. And I'm finding in my journey through Krishna consciousness, there's many tests that we face to see if we're actually ready for the next step. So we should see everything acting, moving as the supreme desire of Krishna. In that way, there's nothing to lament or hanker for. What do you think?
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
So we want to give a nice round of appreciation to all the devotees who are speaking to us today. And we hope this all motivates us all to be more Prabhupada-centric and make this our goal and our focus of life. And we're going to have this film within a few minutes, so we would hope that maybe let's have an old-fashioned Hare Krishna Kirtan. We'll have Kavi Chandra Maharaj. You feel like chanting Hare Krishna for 5 minutes, Maharaj? Are you listening? No? Okay, we go to this. He's going to be busy making sure the film is going. So, Prabhu, need us some Kirtan? I'll give you some cartels. Simple Kirtan, like they used to do in the 60s. They didn't have all the instruments. We just had the Maha Mantra.
Got it. Everything right here.
I'll bring you a stick.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.